No
Just a
problem.
minute. Okay. Okay, I think we are good to start now. So would you like to start with the introduction, like requirement and all? Yeah.
Sure. I am already working on Okta. So it's been like 5 to 6 months since I've started working on Okta. I have taken this course online on Udemy, like a 1 week course. But then I would like to learn a little more about like threat insights and like other options, like not just basics, but also the other options. Like what kind of, I mean, if it is a single page application, how do you decide on creating a single page application or this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Like, how would you like come up with or like decide on building a single page application, or how do you decide, I mean, when to moderate these threat insights or like modify?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're building an application, let's say there is a bank's application and you try to invoke a single sign-on, like when you hit on users' credentials, I mean, when you enter users' credentials, would it save the user's data? I mean, this is regarding the biometrics I'm asking. How does the device save the biometrics data and send it to the application? If you're building an application like a bank's or like some XYZ application online on Okta for like mobile, and you log in for the first time, and it asks you to save the biometric. I mean, if you want to enroll for biometrics.
First of all, tell me, like, you are aware of application integration protocol that Okta provides?
Can you explain what it is, like application integration protocols, you said?
Yes. So, as you, I mean, if you are having 6 to 7 months of experience on Okta, so I am assuming you must be aware of the basic and fundamental of Okta, right?
Yes.
Like it is using for single sign-on.
Yes.
Yeah, so if we integrate any application, suppose any third-party application, so we integrate with some protocol, either SAML, OIDC, WSFed, SWA, right? Yeah, in case like if any of the application is not supporting any of the protocol that Okta provides, then we go for Okta Gateway Access, right? That is a on-prem you could say feature that Okta provide. So it's like a different agent you need to install and configure with respect to your tenant so that it will able to provide user information and authenticate and building a trust, all those things. So it's a header based authentication and it is one of the advanced feature of Okta.
Okay.
Coming to the previous one, like what are the custom application, what are the application that OIN provide? Are you aware of OIN? Okta Integration Network?
Yes, I have never worked on it, but I kind of have like high level knowledge about it. But yeah, I mean, it would be great if you can explain.
Sure. So IN is like, inbuilt feature in Okta, where Okta community team is building the application and providing us a template so that we can directly use the template instead of deciding like what is this application and where this application hosted on. For example, if you're saying single page application, mobile application. So I believe for all these applications, we would prefer the OIDC protocol, and depending upon the grant flow, like authorization, implicit client credential, right? We are using the appropriate grant flow, and it will be all get decided by the application team. And if application team is not aware, then we have to provide the background that, hey, this is the requirement, and we need to understand the application also to integrate inside the Okta. So if it is a mobile application, it will not go for authorization grant flow. We need to go for implicit grant flow, and that is a OIDC mechanism that we need to follow. I mean, these are the basic stuff, but we have to understand whenever we are dealing with integration of application. And you said like biometrics, right? So
Yeah.
what do you mean by biometrics? Suppose if I am entering an application, so whatever the credential that is required for single sign-on, are you referring that to biometrics?
No, no, no. Let's suppose you're using a phone and you access any application, or you
Hmm.
unlock your phone with your fingerprint or with Face ID.
Okay, hold on. So I think this is one of the feature of passwordless authentication, right? It is not available for a general feature. This is something early access feature, and it is recently available in Okta Identity Engine, not in the classic version of Okta, right?
Okay. Uh, this should actually give you option. Like, let's say if you log into some bank application, right? I mean, I'm just giving you an example of bank
No, that's
application
fine.
because that would
Yeah.
be easy. Yeah. So when you go to like profile settings,
Mhm.
you'll see your personal like demographics, like your address, your email address, and then your first name, last name, phone number. So these are like the profile settings. But if you also go to privacy settings or like security settings on the application itself, there you have this. I mean, where you can actually change the passwords and everything. And you also have this option called like enroll for biometrics or like a fingerprint, Face ID. So here, if you enroll for, I mean, biometrics, if it is possible on Okta developed application, how does it store the biometrics data? As per my knowledge, what I was thinking, uh, first time when you install this application, like application ABC, you put in your credentials and you hit on login and you sign into the application. You log into the application, and I use iOS, I mean, iPhone. So the very first action that iPhone would pop up with is, do you want to enroll for Face ID or biometrics?
Yeah.
So if you don't choose to do that, I mean, in either cases, right? If you don't choose to enroll for biometrics initially, if you go to settings, I mean, it will ask you to go to settings and then go to privacy settings or security settings and then enroll for biometrics. In either of the cases, how would Okta pull these biometrics data from the phone's data? See, biometrics are all stored in the phone's database, right?
Exactly. Devices.
Devices, yes. So how would Okta pull this information?
So basically, see what I am understanding, like, give me a clear context. You are saying like these biometric enabling option are present inside the Okta, or it is present inside the devices? Because I am understanding it is under the devices, right?
No, no, no. I mean, with device, it comes by default, but on the application that is developed with Okta, or like Okta, we can create applications as well, correct?
Correct.
So let's say you're creating a mobile application and you're integrating this mobile application with the client's mobile application. I mean, you're providing the single sign-on and everything. You're integrating the application with mobile's application. So let's assume you have Facebook. Facebook also have this biometrics details inside Facebook settings, application settings, not on the phone settings.
You're saying Facebook setting, right? Not the Okta setting, correct?
No, yes, Facebook settings, yes.
Got it. See, well, I mean, Okta does provide the biometric also, but it is not like something you can get inside the Okta until and unless it is specifically get customized by the Okta developer, right? If we talk about the general access feature, like what are available for most of the user when they have Okta tenant. So biometric feature recently get launched using the Okta Fast Pass feature, and it is under the OIE. So what it is doing, when you go for Okta Fast Pass, so on the login screen, it will prompt for your button. okay, either you can want to sign in with username and password, or you can opt for Okta FastPass. So when you are clicking on this, it will redirecting to the devices. Instead of managing the second factor authentication with Okta, whatever the authenticator it provide, it will be going to the device authentication, and device will be picking up sign in setting or whatever the device it is providing. Suppose I am a Windows, for me sign in options are different. It will not provide me touch screen, lock with face and other options, but in iOS these all options are getting populated to use by the user. And how it works, so it is working at the back end in Kerberos, right? So there is a service principal named SPN that used to carry the information from device to Okta to get the user authorized and say this is one of the authorized user, and they are supposed to access any application or Okta. So on the back end, all this mechanism, biometric and sign in is independent of Okta, and it's completely on device. So it could be different from person to person. And if you're on iOS and you're saying like it is supporting Face ID, it is supporting Touch ID and other like Hello Pin and other options, right? It provide. So it is working from the back end, like on the Kerberos ticket, it is carrying your information, and these information are getting to the Okta directory and getting validated, right? It is just
Mhm.
carrying from one node to another node and saying like this person is trying to access and this is the username and password. So when you authenticate it first time, right, it will ask you to verify your identity. So you need to provide all your credential, username and password, and get the identity verified so that in the next time you will be just using the biometric to sign in inside any application, either it is FastPass or LinkedIn or any application that is configured with Okta, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how it works. If you go into a detail, it will be like Kerberos token in short and brief.
Okay. So yeah, I
Any
mean, these kind of details I wanted to understand, like how Okta works with these, and um,
okay,
yeah, I
so
mean, you can go ahead and start.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so I'm thinking like you are looking for advanced level of knowledge on Okta, right? Not the basic.
Not the basics, no. I wanted to understand. Okay, so good that you have actually brought up this point. So when you said it was, how do you decide on like creating OIDC application or SWA
Mm.
or SAML? I mean, how would you decide
See.
on like starting off with creating an application?
Yeah, so we have to understand like first you have to understand what is the protocol and what does its mechanism and how does it work, right? So if you are saying SAML, so I mean SAML we are having the latest version of 2.0, right? And earlier
Mhm.
1.1. So it means like SAML is one of the widely supported protocol, and it provides the more secure and more secure features and what you can say security to the application if we build inside Okta for single sign-on. So if any application is supporting SAML, so we would prefer SAML in spite of OIDC and SWA, right? So either you can check with the application team or you can tell them like SAML, how does it work, right? If you are end user and you're trying to access the application, how the flow will work and what are the information will get passed on from Okta to application. And if that requirement fulfill the application team that this is the data they wanted to look, and based on that only they can authorize the user to use the single sign-on, because see somehow we are building a trust only, right? First time without
But
building a
isn't it
trust
the other way around? I'm sorry to cut you here. But isn't it the other way around? What I heard, or like it was OIDC, or like OAuth is like more secured way than SAML.
how I mean,
That's what I heard.
generally, when
Tamil is
you're
like
working on a project, so if any application is supporting both, right, SAML, OIDC, so we
Mhm.
prefer SAML over OIDC. I mean, this is the real-time experience I'm sharing because we have integrated many applications. Okay, so SAML is easy to integrate, and SAML provide all the information easily in a SAML assertion that any application teams looks for with a less
Okay.
customization.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, when customization is involved, I mean, now most of the applications that I've been working on, they require like heavy customization. So
yeah.
it's definitely OIDC then.
Okay. Yeah, depending upon the use cases and what are the application complexity it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we are, yeah. So in the SAML, the SAML request, SAML response, and all these things get generated. And in SAML assertion, we passed the claim values, like whatever the information looks for from Okta to application, and based on that it will get decrypted at application end, and user will be able to use a single sign-on. But in OIDC we have to decide what is the application platform, like it is a single page application, mobile application, web-based application, and based on that we use the grant flows, right? Authorization or PKC, implicit client credential. So we need to understand the complete flow before we are proposing, because sometimes when you are working with application team, they are not aware what is OIDC and what are the flow and grants. So maybe you need to work with vendor and all of the people to make them understand what Okta provide from a capability standpoint of view, and what you can suggest, what application team is looking to have an integration, right, from Okta. So if it is like
Mhm.
web-based application, you can go for authorization grant flow where you can customize the refresh token, the timeline, and all other things, and what are the
Mhm.
claims value and scope you want to grant from the Okta to application.
Okay.
Yeah, so as soon as you will go into detail, you will learn a lot of things, but it does include some of the basics also.
Right. Yes. I agree.
So this is one of the, I mean, application integration, and for SWA, I think it is work in a way where you have to enter your credential first time, username and password, and it get stored in a browser, right? And based on the browser authentication, it will be like allowing you to access again and again. And it is not your desktop browser or Chrome or Internet Explorer. It is Okta browser or Casio cookies, you can say, where it is stored the information. So in case you are clearing your browser, it doesn't mean like you will not able to authenticate. It will ask for credential. It is not the case. Okta cache and cookies will be getting stored, and it will allow user to authenticate to the application based on the data that user entered the first time, username and password.
Mhm.
So it work in a this way. And there is another protocol, WSFed. So it is not one of the protocol that we can use for any of the application. It is widely used for O365 application, and this is inbuilt protocol that Okta provide. So if you're going to the Okta integration network, so you will see 7,000 plus of application integrated by Okta, and all of this application are community verified and Okta verified. So there is a difference between what is community verified and Okta verified, right? So if talk about the feature, it provide the provisioning, it provide the import, it provide uh, assignment, right? So you might be able to see like some of the tabs are getting different in the application list that Okta provide, all those 7,000. So you need to decide which one. So the season and all other things, it totally depends upon like, what the application team is looking for and what you want to suggest it from the Okta standpoint of view.
Yes. This
Like,
kind of expertise I wanted to like learn.
yeah, so if you're like in OIDC, we need to have an auth server, right? So Okta does provide one of the by default auth server that we can use for the OIDC integration. But some of the cases in OIDC application, customer want to have a customized auth server. So from where you can do it and what are the claims you can pass on? Because when you enable the claim, it will be not for one application of OIDC. It will be for all the application of OIDC. So these things like from where we can enable it, what is OAuth server, what are the mechanism of grant type and other things.
Okay.
Yeah. What about like AD agent integration, these things, are you aware? Like you just want to go
No,
with application integration.
no. I'm not aware of these six because I have not worked on AD integration yet. Um, yeah, I mean, you can start off with like introduction, what, like how you technically or like usually go with your flow.
Okay.
I mean, I just wanted to, I mean, you understood like where I'm lacking my expertise, right? Like how do I decide on building what kind of application and what
So do you have experience on cybersecurity also, or IM?
on IAM I worked on governance minder for a few months and I worked on Improvata.
So you must be aware of the basic flow like IM, right?
Yeah,
Identity and access management, and what is Okta, what is other governance tools, SailPoint, Savvy, and CyberArk, right?
yes.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, so Okta, I mean, it's hosted over the cloud, and it is one of the widely used tool when we talk about single sign-on or access management field. There are some other also in the market, Azure, right? It is also in the cloud. It is on the Microsoft product, but still, people used to prefer the Okta because there are some feature and Okta product that Okta only provide, not the Azure. One of the example I can say Okta workflow, right, and the logs. So these are like uh, what you can say, Okta product that is not available in Azure. And Okta is a quite user-friendly tool that if any client is opting for, it is easy to use and is easy to get customized as per the requirement. So that's why one of Okta is one of the widely used tool when we talk about the access management build or single sign-on for user.
Mhm.
And I think
Okay.
in the last report, or maybe last to last report, Gartner also published the Okta as one of the widely used tools.
Oh, is it okay? Would you provide me with like Okta environment
Yeah,
for like
so
a
I will be guide you how to create a Okta environment. It will be like 30 days trial that Okta provide if you are using your Gmail, or I think Gmail is not working anymore as per, yeah. So you need
no,
to,
personal emails are not working.
okay. Earlier it was working, but a few days back I got to know from one of the candidate like it is not allowing to sign in with Gmail and all. So you have to use your company, and is it like fine to use your company email address?
No, not really.
Okay. Then in
Yeah.
that case, we have to look around some other option. I'll see if I can have some other email or something else. But if you are having the company email address, you can purchase a 30 days of trial and it will be free of cost. So in that, you can explore all the things. You can integrate the application. What are the products and feature it is present like. So, Okta is having two versions, Classic and Identity Engine. Identity Engine is recently launched in March 2022, and prior to that, Classic was there. So in
Mhm.
Classic, there are some feature that was not supporting into OIE. For example, Okta Mobile. So the person who were using Okta Mobile, they need to decommission that, and it will be not more supporting feature in OIE. So there are other features also that is not supporting in OIE, but OIE is more advanced version of Okta, and I think any of the client that was on Classic, they all are trying to migrate to the OIE. So in our
Okay.
environment also, we have done a recently migration to OIE, but
Mhm.
there are quite difference between the user experience from the admin perspective, and it is also like not allow all the user to sign in with your exact username and password without having the domain information. So suppose if you're logging into VPN, right, and VPN is integrating with Okta, so generally you do username and password. But with OIA, it is coming by default with username at the rate domain.com and the password. So it it is like a different experience than the classic, and in some cases like for the Mac or some iOS user it is creating issues, so we need to customize with creating a separate rule that if any user who are on Mac and iOS will not prompt for domain sign in, either it would be blank or either it would be just username. Okay, the suffix part.
Mhm.
Okay, have you logged in inside any application that is integrated with Okta?
So the project that I was working on is a greenfield implementation.
Uh,
So not really. I mean, we have only integrated, like tried to demonstrate an example application to the client. Um, so no, not really. I did not.
So, when we
Maybe
access,
American Express. American Express, they are actually integrated with Okta. I mean, Okta provides the single sign-on to American Express. So yeah, have logged into American Express.
okay. So if you logged into that application, so does it prompt for you to Okta sign in?
No,
No,
I
I
mean
mean,
it is.
I think
Yeah.
it
So
must
on the
be.
mobile application, right? It is Okta uh, custom widget.
Okay, yeah, so that is the case, right? So Okta does provide the login page to log in inside any application. So see, uh, there are two ways to authenticate the application: IDP initiated, SP initiated. SP means service provider initiated. So if you're talking about American Express, let's consider this example. So
Mhm,
instead of going to the Okta sign-in page, you are going to the American Express, and American
mhm,
Express is redirecting your authentication to Okta, so that you need to enter your credential, username and password. Either it is on phone, either it is on device, doesn't matter, right? It will be redirecting to the Okta. So if you are able to see the URL by any chance, after this call, maybe you just go to the application, okay, click on the application, see how the URL are getting redirected from American Express to okta.com, and there will be a ID. Though that ID is integrated inside Okta. So redirection of URL from one place to another, or SP to IDP. In this way, you will understand, okay, this is going to the Okta, this is going to the Azure. By seeing the URL, you will able to differentiate it. Like, for example, like consider the Jira and other tool. So at a very high level, it is like integrated with Azure and OIDC, OAuth. So you will be able to realize like how it is working, right?
yeah.
So maybe you can explore it later. The Facebook and other things, some of them does not provide the visibility to of redirection. It will be just like even clicking it, it will be logging you inside. But in most
Yeah.
of the application, for example, if you're integrating with Okta, it does provide the visibility how the URL are redirecting. And in case any error are coming up, it will also display it, okay, on this particular URL, the error is coming, so that you can check with the application team or the Okta team, like where the issue is exactly. So in case of troubleshooting, right, the single sign-on is not working. So we
Mhm,
need to work in this approach. How the URL is getting directing from one node to another, what are the information we are passing on. If we are using a SAML, we do verify with a SAML pressure, like what are the information user is carrying. Suppose my profile is building up username, password, first name, last name. So we need to provide all this information. It might be a data issue that the user is not getting inside the application with single sign-on, or might be from application end also. So sometime application team is not aware like what exactly need to do. So we have to tell like, and you slowly when you will start integration application with SAML, OIDC, SOA, WS, you will be getting experience like where it is lacking. Okay.
mhm.
So by the content, I mean, it is quite simple. I'm not going into detail. We already covered so much of time, but see the content, okay, on my screen. And do you think like these are the topics that you don't want, and or anything that
I
we need to
mm,
include additional?
no, I would definitely like to go through like all the basic stuff as well, because like I said, I have gone through only 1 weeks of Udemy training videos.
Zero
So
to hero?
maybe yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was quite good. It contained all the things. If you're looking from a scratch level, at least it will provide you idea what it is, right?
Yes, yes. It definitely did, but yeah, I mean, in your architecture part or like administration, I don't know what you have in there. Uh,
Yeah. So architecture
upper
and yeah.
no, user access management. I think user access management, I know, and Okta workflows. I'll have to look into it, and I don't know what LCM in Okta is, and universal directory. I know how it works, but then yeah, give me a little insight about it. And OIM, logging and monitoring. I don't know what it is. MFA configuration. This is the most important part. I would like to learn more about it. And yeah, rules, configuration, policies. I want like really good insight. And directory management, Okta APIs. Yes, I want to understand all these.
Cool. UD, I'll just provide you a brief. Like, you know, you must be aware, like if you're working on any of the technology, that there is a database for anything, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like Active Directory, Okta has like universal directory, which is handled only by Okta, and we don't have access to it. But I don't wanted to understand like how you configure or like I mean, is if there is any configuration with like legacy AD to universal directory, or like how do you?
Yeah, no. So UD is completely independent. You can't connect UD with something, some external source or directory like AD, LDAP, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
Okta does provide a direct integration management. So in that you can connect the on-prem Active Directory or LDAP with your Okta and see like how it is working. But UD is independent. Like any of the user who is created directly inside the Okta or Okta master user, we used to say, that will come under the universal directory.
Universal
Okay.
directory. Yes.
Yeah.
So
And what
when you migrate the users from like legacy
AD?
system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, AD. How would you do it? I mean, what would be the procedure?
So we have to work on the agents, right? We have to create an agent that point to the on-prem Active Directory, and we have to make a setting in such a way so that it can pull all user from all the different OUs that AD contains, and it will come inside the Okta by the mechanism of scheduled import. Scheduled import is like customizable. Either you can do a frequency of at least 1 hour or 1 day, depending upon the requirement. But this is how it is work. So consider agent as a tunnel, okay, between
Mhm.
AD and Okta, and based on the frequency of data import from AD to Okta, it will be getting imported inside. And this is bi-directional. This is bi-directional. Generally, in real-time process, we do not prefer a user to go from Okta to AD, because in every organization there is a one source of authentication, right? Either it is Okta or either it is someone saying anything. Hello.
I don't know. I mean, somebody tried to join maybe.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So source of truth, yes, there will be only one. Uh, but if you, as you said, this is like you bi-directional
Yeah.
migration. So the passwords that you migrate from AD to OUD,
Yeah, so password we are not
you'll have to
migrating.
hash.
See, yeah, see, password we are not migrating. And so we Okta provide option to either you can use the AD password or either you can use the Okta password. But since the source of authentication is one, so it would be preferable to use the AD password for users only, right? If they are coming from AD, they are authorized to use the AD password inside Okta to log in or any of the application that is integrated with Okta. So n number of application is integrated with Okta, right? Only then in that cases, Okta will come into a picture. If you are having 5 to 10, generally we do not prefer because it is highly using for single sign-on purpose, not for user management, governance, and other things, certification and all. So if you are having n number of application, definitely the password is required, and we can't choose Okta as a source of. I mean, to use the password if the source of authentication is some other directory, AD and LDAP. So Okta provide a feature where we can customize and map the exact password required complexity and make sure like it is working with AD, or you can directly say, okay, no, just use the AD password and use it for all the users.
Mhm. So what I'm working is on customer identity. So I'm sorry, I did not get your name.
Sorry.
What is your name again?
My name is Priyanka.
Priyanka. Okay. So Priyanka, I work on CIA,
Okay.
Customer Identity and Access Management. So what our requirement was, I mean, I'm not working with this project anymore, but then I'm just trying to like give you insight about my project. What my
It's fine.
requirement was,
Yeah.
migrate users, including their passwords. Like, I don't know, they were like double salting or like running 10 rounds of salt and then bringing the hashed value. I mean, adding a hash value and then salting it for 10 rounds.
Okay.
So this
And
is how they were
where,
actually
from
migrating
where it is
password
coming?
from
CIM.
AD.
80.
No, they actually have another from the database, actually, not from the AD, but from the database.
Which database?
Oracle database, but they have named this application to some XYZ. They call it XYZ, and they're migrating users from this XYZ database to OUD. And what their question was, since I said this was a green field implementation, uh, what if new users create their profiles and enroll themselves to this application? All the profiles will be now stored in OUD, right? From
Universal
Okta's
directory,
perspective.
you're saying.
Universal directory, yes. So all the new user creations will be stored in universal directory, including the password. So just in case if something goes wrong after go live, 1 week or 2 weeks later, if you want to, like as a fallback option, if you want to hit back to the same old database, how would you I mean, synchronize the user's data, like username, password, address, phone number, everything to the database? I mean, if you want to decommission Okta until you fix the issue, if something happens after 2 or 3 weeks, going live after 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. See, decommission or disconnectivity of Okta, that can be easily done, because if you are integrating any external source, for example, Oracle database,
Yes.
that I need to check like if it is supporting with Okta or not. But in case of AD and LW, if you want to disconnect and want all those users to roll back to their previous mechanism, so there are agent available, right? You need to disconnect the agent. Nothing else, because agent.
Yeah, you will be disconnecting the agent, but how are you synchronizing the user's data from OUD to the database? Because I heard it's not
It
possible
doesn't
to.
require, right? If you are pulling a user from external source, then how we are making sure that it is like OUD is updating some content? If I'm not
No. Yeah, OUD. I mean, universal directory will be updating some content, but
so this will be going to
okay,
bi-directional.
it has to go by direction. Yes.
Bi-directional is real-time syncing, right? And okay, the real-time syncing in that
See, I
case
mean,
is
once your application that you have developed via Okta goes live, and after 2 weeks, something happens, some discrepancy
you're
or like
talking
some
about application, or you're talking about external source directory?
application.
Application, okay. Any application that's supporting any protocol, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Any application that is developed with Okta. Using Okta, you create an application, and then I mean, if user is logging in through Okta's login widget. And
Got it.
if user is creating a profile, through Okta login widget.
Got it.
Through Okta login widget, everything is happening. And if new users registers themselves using Okta, and if the application or like if Okta breaks for some reason after a week or so, and if you want to get back to the old mechanism, so during this week's time, how many of our users, let's say 100 users gets created. I mean, 100 users creates their profile using Okta widget.
Inside the application, right?
Inside the application, yes. So how will these users get synchronized, including the passwords? So password synchronization is the issue here. Password synchronization, because Okta can encrypt but cannot decrypt. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So how would Okta decrypt the password and then send it to the previous the database?
See, um, This is a little bit like I'm thinking this is not a real-time scenario. Okay. So when we integrate any application with Okta,
Mhm.
considering any of the protocol, and we want all the user to authenticate inside the application, right? Either the user are coming from directory or Okta you would, right? Universal
Mhm.
directory. And you are saying like at some point of time after 1 or 2 weeks you want like all the user to get back to their previous mechanism of sign in. For example, if it is Salesforce, you don't want Salesforce user to authenticate with Okta. You want all those users to authenticate with Salesforce login legacy process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a two-directional flow, right? Whenever we integrate any application with Okta, it's not like we are only doing the integration. Application team also need to point out their authentication mechanism to Okta, where they used to enter the URL single sign-on ACS URL entity ID to point it to the Okta tenant. So if we want to disconnect the flow, if we can do from our end also, like going to the application, making it disable and deactivate, but application team also need to disconnect the Okta authentication, like source, like if there are multiple source on the application end and Okta is one of them, so we need to disable the Okta as authentication source. And the whatever the user, suppose like 100 user were earlier able to log in with respect to Okta, their account will be getting stored inside the application, right? And once it will get disconnect, Okta will be not responsible for giving any information like decrypting password or any other information. It is like it is completely not possible if you talk in a real-time scenario. Once you disconnect it, everything will be going to stop. Whatever the password, username, and the details that application team was looking for, it will be completely depending upon their own mechanism, own authentication source. But it is also independent of the users, like who already logged in inside the Okta and their profile get created. And their profile will only get created if you enable the provisioning specifically inside the Okta, right? It is not like if you're signing into any application, your account will get created from the Okta. We need to enable it. This is the explicit feature that we need to work on. Provision that is called as provisioning, user provisioning. It also includes create, enable, and delete three sub functions. Depending upon the requirement, you can just check the box. Okay, create user is one of the requirement under the provisioning. So suppose if my account is not inside the Salesforce and I could see that tile available on my dashboard and I'm clicking on it, then I'm landing to the Salesforce and simultaneously it will also creating my account, username and the password of Okta and getting stored inside the Salesforce database system, whatever it is, right? So it gets stored, and after some time, if you want to disconnect, my password will be there, and but I will be not able to use the Okta because Okta is not one of the authentication source at Salesforce end. Getting my point?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about like logging in with Okta again here, but how would Okta decrypt uh, decrypt the passwords, or like passwords are actually stored in encrypted format in Okta. So how can we pull the data from Okta is my question. But I from American Express, at American Express, they actually have done something. I don't know. I mean, I heard it from one of my colleagues uh, to make it bi-directional.
I'm
So
not getting it really.
no, in American Express, they've actually made it bi-directional. I heard it through one of my
Bi-directional, what is bi-directional? I mean,
synchronization of user data.
synchronization. Okay, so you're saying like it is on the application end also and it is on the Okta end also, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
But isn't it like
So whatever, I
conflicting?
mean, if user gets created on Okta, universal directory, then the data that creates in Okta gets synchronized with the database.
Okay, so this way like we are pulling user from the application also, right? Okta master, AD master. Now one is the application master user. Like for example, American Express. So user are coming from MX inside the Okta UD, right?
Yes, yes. After migrating the entire, like let's say there are like 10 million users in active on database. So we migrate the entire 10 million users to Okta database, including the passwords. And here, when a user gets created, a new user gets created in Okta now, will also be synchronized with the, will also get synchronized with the database. From OUD to database, DB.
Or you did to
Yeah.
I'm not able to get that it clearly. I'm really sorry, but I'm thinking, if users are coming from application MX to Okta, right? So there is option of create user and and below there is option of sync password also, right? So whatever the users is having the information, um, whatever the information at the application in, for example, MX, you are having a different password and username, and it will come inside Okta. So Okta does provide a capability where a user can use the same username and password and they can log in inside the Okta application. Only if we have created a application in such a way so that it will work in the authentication from Salesforce credential to Okta. But it totally depends on what are the things we are enabling inside Okta and how the configuration is set up. I haven't came across some scenario yet, but as per my understanding and the feature that Okta provide, it should work in a this way. Coming to the password sync, so it is, even if we talk about any external source, AD, LDAP, or any application that provide users, so there is always option, or Okta provides a capability where you can match the password of third-party source with Okta, right? It is not like user will get conflicted with a password which credential user need to use. So if there are multiple sources, right? Application, AD, LDAP. So there is a profile master inside the Okta where you can say, okay, this is at priority 1, this is at priority 2 and 3. Depending upon the priority you set, user will be coming inside Okta and user will be using the password accordingly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so this is these are the content, and I think we already talked about in some of the topics in detail. So give a thought and then let us know. Okay.
Sure. Can you share this document with me, or like, are you gonna explain me about like architecture and LCM?
Yeah. I mean, these will be going to be explained in a detail, right? The LCM, what is architecture? And when we talk about architecture, Okta is not having a very complex architecture as like other on-prem application or tool. So it is hosted over the cloud and it is having an inbuilt database that is UD, and it provides various products, for example, single sign-on device trust. And there is a numerous product that Okta provide, and depending upon the ease and customer requirement, every organization used to pick up the product, right? And there is some general availability and early access feature. Okay, so general availability is something like it is available for all the user who purchased a tenant. For example, if you are purchasing a trial tenant, you will be able to see all the feature that comes under the general availability, but you will not able to see the feature that come under the advanced access. Okay, so this is one of the advanced feature and it is based on the request. So when you are working on a project and you are enabling this feature, your organization is paying extra to get that feature. For example, the automatic AD agent upgrade. So in general access feature, you need to update it manually. Like you need to go to the agent and see like whether the folders are there or not, updated, deleting it and creating. But in case of early access feature, it will be automated. You just need to check the checkbox and Okta will be doing from the backend. So all those things, these things are very easy to say, but this will be only be possible if we know like how Okta works, what are the product and what are the things it is getting advanced at every quarter, because Okta provide their product release approximately once in a quarter. So, and based on that, we can see, okay, these are the advanced features that coming and on how we can customize with our environment and propose our client to use all those things. Okay.
Okay.
It is user-friendly language, but at the same time, we also need to understand the basic, and we see like what are the products and the feature that we can use and customize, make it in automated and ease for the end user as well as for the organization.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we already covered 1 hour, and from the introduction perspective, I have told you like these are the topics and the things that we talked in detail. So maybe you can give a thought and then let us know, right?
Sure, Priyanka.
Sure.
And so you are you still working on Okta, or do you work on like any other
So I have
tool?
experience over the SailPoint and Okta also. But mainly my primary skill is Okta, and it's been 6 years, more than 6 years, I'm working on Okta.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. How
Okay.
many
Would you
experience
also
do you have?
provide job support if required?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
How many experience you have?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. And what's
Four
your
years,
name?
I worked on Improvata for like 2 years, and before that, I've started working on Identity Manager, like CA Identity Manager, but then the project has never started.
Okay.
um, so, I mean, you can say I have like zero knowledge on IDM, but I've worked on Improvata. Improvata, have you heard about it?
No, it is
Okay,
governance.
yeah, an IDG,
Okay.
identity governance. It's proprietary to only healthcare. Only hospitals use this IDG. So I worked on it for like a couple of years, and after that, for about a year, I worked on governance minor CA.
And with Okta, you are doing the POCs, right? Kind of.
The taught what?
With Okta, you are doing POCs like learning and trying the things by yourself.
No, I mean, I am applying for like, I mean, for like general IAM positions, but this is how my journey through IAM had been so far. And after governance minder, I have started working on Okta, because I mean, I'm open to learn or like go into any
Yeah.
IAM tool. I'm okay with it, but I somehow liked Okta out of all these, so I thought I would like settle with Okta now, and maybe I'll try learning SailPoint as well
Yeah. I mean,
after
there's
this.
always a open way to learn all the things, right? Okta, SailPoint, CyberArk, Savient, these tools are
CyberArk, I've seen. I mean, I've learned it from someone, but I mean, I was not satisfied.
okay.
I Yeah. So I mean, SailPoint and CyberArk goes hand on hand. As far I've seen the requirements, but there's nowhere Okta with. I mean, Okta with PAM. There's no solution, right? I mean, no uh, confined solution.
Yeah, but Okta also provide inbuilt PAM solution, not just CyberArk, Okta Advanced Server Access, right? Where you can use your privilege admin account to use it securely to access inside any server or any other system. Okta Advanced
Oh,
Server Access.
okay. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
so slowly, I think Okta is trying to cover all the spectrum of cybersecurity aim, but since like we are already having a good competitor of PAM and the governance like SailPoint and CyberArk, so it's hard to replace, but not sure about the future, how it will come. But I have seen like some of the client using Okta Advanced Server Access, Okta RDP, like if you're logging inside any of the jump box, right? So you can
Mhm.
use with the Okta credential and it will prompt for you for MFA. Generally, when you're
Uh,
logging inside any of the jump box with RDP, it will ask you to provide username and password, and you can use it as per the um, whatever the governance tool provide. But in case of Okta, it will also prompt for you for second factor authentication like Okta Verify.
okay.
Yeah, this way we can
So
customize.
Okta,
Hmm?
or does Okta record the session
Record the session. You mean
like
like
CyberArk?
no, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
You're talking
Okay.
about the snapshots, right?
No, I mean, if you give access, I mean, everything is recorded on CyberArk, correct?
No,
I
in
mean,
Okta, I mean, it provide the logs at network level, geolocation level, and other things, but recording is not possible in Okta. No.
right, yeah. I mean, since you said Okta is also in like PAM solutions now,
Yeah, I mean, it
like
provide
CyberArk,
the PAM capabilities somehow, but we can't say like, okay, we can drop CyberArk and we can use the Okta, right? Still
okay.
a long way to go.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So do you suggest me to go with Okta or the no, CyberArk or something else?
Depending upon the requirement, right? To be very honest, CyberArk is a PAM, Okta is a SSO platform and hosted over the cloud. It also provide governance at somehow, PAM at somehow, and widely used for single sign-on, right? So this is how Okta comes up when we talk about a complete package. And PAM and SailPoint, these all are specific in their own part, like providing the privilege solution, providing the governance solution, like creating and managing the identity. So each tool is independent of their each other, right? If you could say.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what the requirement is, if you want to complete learn the IM package, what the SailPoint, CyberArk, and PAM, so that you can manage the user, you can manage the single sign-on, you can also manage the admin credentials. So you need to understand all these tools. But if you want like yourself to get at least aware of what identity access management is, how we can manage the user, how we can see PAM at least a high level thing, and how we can manage the access and the stuff, right? So if you're a learner, or if you're a beginner, I would suggest to just go with Okta, because Okta provide all the capability that any IM package look for. So in a very small number of users, where the user capacity is low, below 50,000 or something, you can suggest for Okta as a complete tool. Like it could be a
Mhm.
replaceable of SailPoint and CyberArk, but when you're having a large set of user, like more than lakh or something, then we will need to bring some other tool also in picture, so that we can get user management in a very good way, and we can manage security and compliance by bringing other CyberArk also come into the picture. So
Okay,
we need to
okay.
plan
So
and
the
see.
client that I was working for, we were actually migrating 23 million users.
Uh,
Yeah.
and migrating from where?
From database, their own database. They never had Okta before, like single sign-on solution at all. Uh,
23 million is quite large. What is the
yes,
database
yes.
you mentioned?
Oracle.
Does Okta, I mean, so you are integrating it directly with Oracle application, or you're planning to have a directory or agent between Okta and Oracle?
No, no, there are agents between Okta and this. So they have some, I don't know, some tool which does not have any UI. I don't know, it was probably inbuilt. I mean, in-house built application or something, but which actually uh, brings like pulls out the data from the database and then sends it to Okta.
And what is the purpose of migration? Single sign-on?
Single sign-on, yes. They don't have any single sign-on solution yet.
Okay, and earlier they were not using the Oracle Access Management.
No.
Okay, fine. So once
Access
the mic,
management they were using.
okay.
Uh, they were using access management. They also have CyberArk, but I don't know why they haven't implemented single sign-on.
So you're saying like post migration, the activity would be like creating the application inside Okta, right? For all those users.
Yes, yes.
So mainly, I think I mean, the scope of work, I can consider the application integration, like understanding the requirement and suggesting and building up, right? Then managing the user provisioning and other stuff.
Mm-mm.
For
Yeah.
23 million, I could, I mean, quite set of,
Yeah, it's a huge number. Yes.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, Priyanka, I mean, let me know if you can provide me with like one working environment.
Mhm.
Uh, so I need one working environment and like it's okay if you can cover like, imagine that I don't know nothing about Okta and then start uh, uh, training me on like from the beginning. And I mean the purpose like why we integrate applications and everything.
Sure,
I wanted to like brush up from the beginning.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Related to
So when,
working environment, I'll check like if that is possible or not. Because generally I've seen like candidate able to log in with their business ID, business email, and it will allow them to create 30 days trial.
yeah, it will allow them to create it, but then I don't have a business environment now. So I, I mean, I don't have any domain to create
Got
an
it.
ID or like I am not working at the moment.
Fine. Let me check. Okay. And yeah, you can also let us know.
Sure. Because without practicing, I know. I mean, walking through the tool, like exploring the options, I know where you have like what you have. But then for creating the application and then exploring a little bit,
Got it. Yeah.
yeah. For that purpose, I would need to get my hands dirty. So without doing that, I cannot like learn it.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And without any domain email address, I cannot even do certification, right?
I have done with my company. I think you can't do it. No.
Yeah, you cannot do it. You can or you
Planning for
cannot.
professional? No, you can't.
Yeah. Yes, I am planning to get a certification on Okta.
I will double check on this, okay? And confirm you. Will that
Sure.
work?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
That's fine.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Bye.
That's fine. And Priyanka, before you hang up, would you also provide like advanced training or just this?
Advanced training, I mean, whatever we have discussed so far, you're looking apart from that.
Yeah.
Any example if you could give? I just get some idea.
I know. I mean, advanced training only comes when you actually start working on it. I mean, the scenarios will pop up only when once you start
Yeah,
working on
yeah.
it, right? Yeah.
Totally depends upon the use cases, right? What are the things
That's correct.
exactly the
Yes.
requirement page? And if you're looking from a developer standpoint of view, like the coding and all, then I do not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, developer standpoint of view, I will need to learn a lot about it. Okay, thank you, Priyanka.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your
Thanks.
time. Bye.
Thanks, bye.